The primary cause of my visit is to visit with the Prime Minister, Most Honorable Andrew Holness, and other political figures such as the opposition leader and members of parliament and investors.
What were the result of those meetings? Are you willing to say?
Well, I can speak in general terms. I had very productive meetings overall with the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is also the chairman of the Caribbean Democratic Union, of which Belize is a sister party. So it's always important to meet with my colleagues as far as the overall policy that we have in the United Democratic Party of regional integration and getting the benefit of the intellectual capacity and the experiences of my colleagues in the leadership positions that they're in is quite invaluable. And definitely on the other side is the opposition leader. I'm an opposition leader, so for me, I always make courtesy calls with the opposition leaders because you get two different perspectives, two different machines, all aiming at the same goal, we hope, which is the betterment of our people, but two different stations. So meeting with the opposition leader was productive as well to hear his thoughts on, how to get to government, what he's doing, and the different functions of the opposition and how he continues to strengthen that as a very, very key component of our democracy. A few months ago, several opposition leaders met in St. Lucia at the invitation of former Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Alan Chastney, who is the current leader of the opposition there. And so what we decided to do is create a leader of the opposition consortium so that we can meet and talk about the challenges of being in opposition and getting to government. So for me, I have a high respect for the office of the opposition leader because that is where I sit. So it was a productive meeting with Mark Golding as well as with the Prime Minister, Andrew Holness.
You spoke with Lee-Chin, you said.
Yes,
Michael Lee-Chin of
yes.
NTB.
Yes.
Were there any other businessmen or private sector persons that you met with while you were here?
Adam
And are you
Stewart.
looking to get investments in Belize?
Yes, Adam Stewart.
Oh, you met with Adam Stewart of Sandals Resort.
Yes, I
Is
did.
it that you would like to see a Sandals Resort
Absolutely.
built in your country?
Absolutely. I cannot fathom why we haven't had one in all the time that I've been born. But I had a very, very great conversation with Mr. Stewart, and he has promised me that he will come to Belize and do an examination, and we'll meet and we'll talk even more. I had a very great conversation with Mr. Lee-Chin, very, very impactful conversation, walked away with a lot of information. He's very interested in investing in nuclear energy in Belize, but he gave me so much more information just as far as being an effective leader and being able to engage the masses to be a part of Project Belize. This was some of the key pillars of the United Democratic Party, our vision for 2025 when elections have to be called or before. Some of the key pillars have to do with poverty alleviation and not the typical extreme versions of addressing poverty alleviation, whereas you have conservative governments who feel that growing the economy is all and let it trickle down. Then you have on the other side maybe the socialists, extreme socialists, liberal governments who believe that they will sustain dependency. Whereas I have a more centered, moderate policy. We have a more centered, moderate policy of being able to empower those people who are vulnerable at whatever stage and while the state will sustain them, but it will be a sustenance to empowerment.
You speak about having gone through hell. Do you believe that that may have overshadowed your prospects in leadership?
No, that's preposterous. I wouldn't be the leader if that is an issue. I was re-elected and elected. The majority of the people have spoken, but part of politics is propaganda and criticism, and people use whatever information or distortion of information to their benefit. But this is not about that, as I said in the very first comments that I made. Uh, this is about me wanting to contribute along with like-minded individuals to the betterment of Belize, and that's what it really boils down to. And what has separated Belize from progress that it should realize are these exact types of volleys for power, and people not having the political will, but having a will for self-enrichment, having a will for selfish agendas. And so I will not be distracted. The question you asked me is, would I give up? And that's when I mentioned to you what I've been through in life is far worse than people fighting for political power. This is actually the greatest thing that I could ever do, the greatest accomplishment, other than being a good father to my daughter. This is the greatest thing that I could do. So I feel very electrified. I feel very fortunate to be in a position to fight for what is right on behalf of the Belizean people. I'm not fighting for myself. I'm not fighting to get there and pass policies that will benefit my corporation or benefit, special interests because I finance the party myself. There are things that I want to see that I describe. I grew up in the United States. So I grew up in a single parent household, impoverished, living paycheck to paycheck, watching my mother struggle. But I had access, I had a pathway to success, right? In the United States, especially in New York, they say if you could make it there, you make it anywhere. And there is an opportunity lying around the corner from hell in the United States. Unfortunately, in Belize and in other developing nations, we don't have those opportunities. And so for me, as a child of opportunity, as a child who grew up in a single parent household where sometimes I had to drink water to go to sleep because we didn't have food, or I had to put the condensed milk on the white bread. I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like to dream. I know what it's like to achieve my dreams. And I feel that that is the role of the state to create the infrastructure, to create the climate for Belizeans to be able to fulfill their greatest potentials. And that is quite lacking right now. So that is what I am here to do for the rest of my life. Even if it's in private sector, I'll still do it. I want to give it a chance in public sector. But my life's journey, my life's purpose is to be able to give to Belizeans what I was able to receive as a youth. The things that I've been able to accomplish, all my dreams come true. I don't take that lightly. So it's not something that I feel I'm a special person and everybody else has to figure it out on their own. As I said, I believe in the W.B. Du Bois doctrine. When he wrote in his book, The Black Bourgeois, he said that the purpose of those African Americans, in particular, he's an author and a civil rights activist from the United States, first Harvard graduate, African American. He said that, when the black bourgeois makes it, what they fail to realize is that they should be a bridge for those that are still struggling and suffering.
What are your chances of becoming the next Prime Minister of Belize?
We have a pathway to 16 seats. One of the things that I've learned in my 45 years is humility. So I don't want to, will not be bombastic. The government has unlimited resources, and in our pattern, in our history of governance over the last, I would say, 25 years, the pattern has been 10 years in opposition, 13 years in opposition. So I would want to break that, but that has been the pattern where the populace, the pendulum swings, and it swings during these extreme periods. So it's not been in the last 20, 25 years, 26 years, it hasn't been a one in, one out. It has been two for the current government that is in, and then we had 3 terms, our United Democratic Party, we had 3 consecutive terms. So the people gave us 13 years.
That was when your father was prime minister?
Yes, yes. So there's a lot of work to do. I have to be very practical as far as the work that is ahead of us. So I don't want to, the difference between, Shyne, the next prime minister, and Shyne, the musician, is I would have been much more bombastic and much more confident as to what will be. But I take the people of Belize very serious, and we have a lot of work to do to build the trust and to regain the confidence that was lost in the last general elections. And so it is a collective effort. I cannot do it by myself. I have a great team, but I do believe that I have 16, at least 16 candidates, so we can win the 16 seats needed to form the next government.